The recording. So, good evening to everyone. On behalf of HSN CB, Nari Gursahani Law College, and Law Teachers India, I warmly welcome all the law faculty members who have joined us on the fifth day of National Level Faculty Development Program for Law Teachers on use of AI in teaching and research. Today we have with us a young and dynamic Professor Akash Gupta as the resource person who will be discussing with us use of AI in all forms of evaluation. Before we can quickly start with the session, I would like to briefly introduce the resource person to all of you. Professor Akash Gupta is an associate professor and assistant director of the Center for ADR at Jindal Global Law School and a visiting faculty at NLSIU Bangalore, where he teaches alternative dispute resolution courses. Appointed to the Young IAMC Steering Committee from 2025 to 27, he is an alumnus of PNNLU and Stockholm University. He attended the Paris Arbitration Academy and Hague Academy on full scholarship and sponsorship, respectively. Awarded the Emerging Arbitration Law Teacher of the Year and Young ADR Academic of the Year in 2023, he has 13 Scopus Index publications. He regularly judges competitions like WIS and JESUP, conducts workshops across India, and serves on editorial and advisory board of leading Indian and foreign ADR journals. Professor Akash Gupta, we are indeed honored to have you on this platform with us today. And today, the topic which you're going to be discussing is very intriguing and interesting. And I'm really looking forward to learn a lot. And I'm sure all my friends out here, all the faculty members are eager to learn how to evaluate by using AI. So without much ado, I invite Professor Akash Gupta on the days to take over. Sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for having me delivering this session. Thank you very much, Kalpesh sir, for giving me this opportunity. So, the topic for today's discussion for the next 60 to 90 minutes, it's role of AI in law school assessments. Now, this topic is something which is not well discussed in India. We do not have a lot of prescribed textbooks, or we have it within the framework of our law school curriculum. So, how do we regulate? What are the problems? What are the solutions? It's a muddy waters within the Indian law school because it's a gray area. So, I'll try my best to make sure that we understand the basic concepts and we also understand the challenges associated with it and how do we actually look at the potential solutions as the law faculties. Now, starting with the first slide, the question is, what do you think? Do you think AI is being used in law school assessments? Anyone who, or why don't you just use the chat box to write, or anyone who wants to share their views? So, do you think it's being used in law school assessments? Do you think law students are using it while submitting the assessments or any usage of AI in the assessment part? Anyone? Or are you saying that AI is not being used in the law schools in India? No possibility of it. Anyone?
No, sir.
So you are saying that AI is never used by the law students or in any of the assessments. What is that you are saying? Just to give you an insight, what do I mean by usage of AI?
AI is used in law school. It depends on the teacher that whether he use AI or not, because different
Yes.
different school makes it. Some school makes it mandatory. Some don't make mandatory. So it is upon the teacher that whether he uses it or not. So there is no regularization in Indian universities with regard to this. Therefore, the teacher uses it according to his personal will.
So my question is simple. In your view, do you think people are using AI
Yes,
while submitting
definitely.
assessments? Yes or no? It's a very simple
Yes,
question.
yes.
Just
Yes,
need.
yes. They use a lot. Students use a lot.
Okay. Now, just to clear the air, let's look at this. I'm pretty much sure you must have gone through this very famous meme of Akshay Khanna all over the social media while he enters into a meeting with another person. And the whole character of Akshay Khanna in this movie, a lot of people are saying that it's been something which has been more recognized than the main character of Ranveer Singh in the movie Dhurandhar. Now, think of AI in law school assessment pretty much like Akshay Khanna. We all say we all don't talk too much about it, but it has a very good important role to play within the law school assessment. And this meme was created with a perspective so that you understand that you love AI or you hate AI, but AI is relevant and AI in the law school assessments needs more discussion and needs more training. And we need to address these issues. We can't just overlook AI and say that no, people are not using it, or if people are using it, it is their own choice. We have to regulate it at some point of time. So this meme is from that perspective that AI in law school has a role to play. There is no debate about this that nobody is using AI and why we should regulate AI, why we should understand what is generative AI, all of this. So this is just to give you, the background of this particular session. Now, the second slide, I'm pretty much sure that some of you must have experienced this. That sometimes when you give, an assessment to your students, and they send you a file with the legal essay which has 100% AI report in it, which means 100% is Gen AI, the generated AI using some of the tools. And then you get this, then it's a very problematic situation because then either you have to call that person to explain, then the reports, then the discussion, maybe rework or maybe failing or something. Now, this has happened, especially after, the COVID, when ChatGPT came in, all of these Gen AIs came in. So this is just to give you the background. Why do we have this particular session on the role of AI in law school assessments? Now, what are we going to discuss in today's session? First is the introduction, where we'll be discussing about what is an AI, what is generative AI. Then we'll look into the positives and negatives of AI. How do we detect AI usage? Then we'll look into the challenges, that what are the challenges associated with it, then the potential solution, and then we conclude the session. Now, let's understand first what do we mean by artificial intelligence. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, the capacity of computers or other machines to exhibit or simulate intelligent behavior, the field of study concerned with this is called artificial intelligence. Now, there is a subset of AI which is called Gen AI in short, which means generative AI, which actually takes your prompts and then converts it into a full fledged answers to those particular prompts. So when you go to ChatGPT, that's one of the most famous ones where you go and give a prompt and then ChatGPT actually generates a particular answer to that. That's the idea of a generative AI. And Gen AI is not only limited to text, it can also create images, it can create videos, it can create software codes. All of this is included within the subset of Gen AI. Now, when I asked you the first question, do you think that AI is being used in the law school assessments? Some of you were saying yes, some of you were saying no. Now, if I ask you that what is that most sought after Gen AI tool, which a lot of us use at the time of writing? Let's say you are responding to an email. You use Gen AI or for any of the responses or writings or summarizing? Do you use any sort of AI? What is that platform which you use? Anyone?
Yeah, mostly
ChatGPT
students use
or
chat
Canva.
GPT.
Can we go one by one? I think there were two people. One was Rajshri and there was another person. Can we go first with the Rajshri?
Canva or ChatGPT widely used.
Yes, of course. Sorry, and there is another person who was adding to it.
Yeah, mostly chat GPT is used.
Yes. So ChatGPT, all of us know that this is the most leading platform in Gen AI, but there are multiple ones. But ChatGPT is used in a very different manner by different set of people, but it has the most number of subscribers, users. Now let's go to the next part.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is one. Then there are other platforms, Gemini, Perplexity. Then you have a lot of other platforms. But there are also legal AI platforms which are there in India. There are a lot of them. Some of them are there on your screen, which is Draft What Pro or Nyaya Assist. There are multiple legal AI platforms. Now, the question is, now we understand what is artificial intelligence. Now we understand what is generative AI. Now we have three questions on the screen. Do you think that Gen AI is reliable? They can think like humans, and whether they can understand the subjects. When I say subjects, we are talking specifically about law. Do you think they can understand it like humans, like us?
No, they can't. I mean, the human touch is always missing when we look at into the AI generated stuff, is what I felt.
Okay. Just to be the devil's advocate here, what if I tell you that uh, ChatGPT has passed the solicitor's qualifying assessment examination in UK, which is more like their bar council exam, with flying colors, like good marks. So will that change your answer? That
Maybe for multiple choice questions,
Hmm.
something like that, yes, AI may be doing more better than human beings. But when it comes down to elaborating an answer, or trying to get a proper case studies, or when you really want your article to be read in such a way that people may able to understand in a simple language, that is where I believe chat gtp does lack in human touch.
okay, very good points. Now all of this is something which I also came across when I was researching and drafting this slide. So there are different set of research which has been done. One is on the MCQs. In MCQs, it's tremendous. It's almost very good accuracy, reliability. You are right that MCQ has more reliability, more accuracy than the subjective ones. But then there are other set of researches. For example, in the Hong Kong, there are subjective law exams where ChatGPT and other Gen were used, and they again passed with very good numbers. Now, all of this is fine, but the conclusion of those surveys were this, that even though they have a metadata, they have a lot of data which is feed it. So let's say they have tie-ups with multiple search engines, whatever data which is lying on internet, but that doesn't mean that they can do a similar thinking like humans. And at the end of the day, there exists a risk of misinformation. So, in all of these surveys, there was one thing in common. In all of these scholarly writings, also, there was this thing in common that they are not accurate, they cannot think like humans, and they cannot understand the subject with a human touch. So, what you said is exactly right, which is the conclusion of these research. So, these three questions are answered in negative. Does that mean that AI is something which shouldn't be used at all? So it should be banned. What do you think? Because now we have talked about two different extremes. One extreme is that you can pass the bar council exam. The other extreme is that they are not reliable. The other extreme is that they can pass the bar council exam also. So how do we make this balance? Do you think that AI should be banned?
From past 4 5 days, the sessions are going on, and it created more confusion whether to or not to. So it's like a 50-50% kind of thing. Maybe before attending these sessions, we would have said, ki, yes, we can use it. Completely 100%, we would say that no. But after attending these sessions, it feels like we are into the third world where AI is, playing a very important role. So we cannot say we shouldn't be using it completely. We should use it only as an assistant tool instead of completely relying on that. We should have our own research area actively involved.
Okay. So I think what you are saying is pretty much my understanding also, that we shouldn't go to both the extremes, that either you use 100% AI or we should never use AI at all.
Sir,
There
I
is
want
there
to
is a
say,
yes.
something with regard to this. Actually, sir, we should use AI as much as we can use it, but there must be some regulations by government of India or by the university with regard to this, that we should recognize this, that we have done this research by the help of AI. So the law or solid law, enforceable law is required for it. We should fully use, I think.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, you are saying that usage is all fine so far as it is disclosed and it follows ethical guidelines. And this is something which is already being said in a lot of articles. And this is what we call that how you include AI in your assessments itself. There are also IITs in India where they said some of the IITs in India have made their examination rules aligned with AI and said that using AI is all fine, but just that you have to also put an annexure where you actually copy paste all the prompts and what tools you use. And you have to create that trail in the annexure. Now, this is something not very new, which the IITs in India are doing it. This is something which has been already done in the West. So they actually include this within their examination rule, that you have to include all the prompts and you have to create a trail in the annexure, that how much you have used, how you have used all of this. Now, this would have given you some insights that whether we should use, whether we should not use, but it's a bit confused scenario, as one of the man said. But don't worry, by the time we end this discussion, I'm pretty much sure that I'll try to clear this air, at least some portion of it, if not fully. Now, to reach the conclusion how we should use it, we need to first understand why we should be using AI, or what are the good things of using AI, what are the bad things of using AI. So we need to understand both plus and minus of this. So for example, when you go and buy a product, let's say you want to buy iPhone 17 Pro Max, and you are confused in between iPhone 17 and iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now, both of them has a difference of pricing. So you need to understand what are the plus and minus of both the products. Only then you decide which one is better for you. Similarly, before using AI or Gen AI, you need to understand what are the plus and minus of this. Now, to explain this in nutshell is using AI, let's say for a basic information. Just to give you an example, that you are watching a movie or a series on, let's say, Amazon Prime, and you want to check the facts. For example, there is this series of Gaurav Tiwari's Bhai. Now, this series, you want to check whether this Gaurav Tiwari was a real person. So what you do, you go to one of these, AI platforms and you check about Gaurav Tiwari. Now, this is more like access to basic information. So it's actually a good thing because it's very easy to get all the information in one go, right? And it gives you all the details. So this is like basic information. For basic information, it's very good. It's very accessible. It's free. That's one. Second is like, let's say if you want to get a summary of a very complicated topic and you're not able to understand it. So to simplify that text or to summarize that particular PDF, you can use different platforms, including ChatGPT or Chat PDF. There are multiple options you have. So this is again a good use because this is more like to understand. This is not something that you are writing or you are, doing anything like submitting your answers. It's more like for your basic understanding. Then it also helps in legal research. Let's say if you want to know the recent cases of the Supreme Court on a particular topic, let's say ChatGPT, I think they have a data till 2023. And after that, if you have to get it, you have to go to the Indian platforms. Some of them are all updated till 2025. So then you can use these, you get a list of all the judgments coming from a particular court on that particular issue. Similar thing is applicable to legal drafting, but all of this is something which needs manual check. You can't rely 100% on this. And all of these platforms also write this in their terms and conditions. So this is another part. Then to understand the bird eye view of a topic, let's say you want to understand what do we mean by investment arbitration or bilateral investment treaty, and you don't want to get into the details, but you want to get what does that mean. So instead of going to Google or going to any of the other search engine, you can go to one of the AI platform and you put in a prompt that bilateral investment treaty and investment arbitration with respect to India, what is it? Explain in simple words. So that creates a bird eye view, very easy to understand. Let's say you have an argument which you want to use for a moot competition, or there is a strategy which you want to use in one of your negotiation competition, or let's say in your ongoing case, you have an argument and you want to test it, whether it will see the light of the day. Now, in those cases, what you do is you test these arguments with these platforms. Then let's say if you have a topic in mind and you want to create a short reading list, like let's say you want 5 leading scholarships on that particular topic or leading case laws, it can give you a list. But sometimes it's also problematic that they may create a fake, you know, uh, scholarly article or a case law. So you have to manually check it. And this is very important. AI may increase inclusivity. When I say inclusivity, anyone sitting in any part of India or the world, all of us have the access to the same information. And they also have free versions. So it's not like every user has to pay. So it is inclusive in that sense that it doesn't discriminate in between different set of social structures. So all of us have access to the same information, and that actually gives more inclusivity to understand these topics from a basic understanding. And of course, it is free, it is easy to use, so it gives us that inclusivity characteristic to it. Now, to move on to the negatives or the problems associated with the use of AI. One is that how AI works is that they have a data. Think of this as a box which has all the data from different domains. They use that data to give you the answers. So when you provide a prompt to all of these AI platforms, they use that data box. From that data box, they try to answer your question. Now, if that data box, that data repository may have algorithmic bias. So let's say if the algorithm is such that all the data is fed in a way that it is in general discriminatory to women, then the answers which may come as an output may be biased towards women. Now, this is not something that ChatGPT is biased, but because of the data which they have, the metadata, their answers are also affected by it. Now, this is something which is a problem with AI algorithmic bias. Second is that you must have seen a lot of times that ChatGPT or any of the other platforms may create non-existing case laws. In one of the US cases, the lawyer went to a real court, and in the memorial they had this citation. That citation was not a real citation. It was all a made up case. So sometimes they can create cases which are fake cases. They can create fake laws, authors, and you must have heard about the issues of deep fakes, which can be created using these Gen AI platforms. So all of these are very problematic. There are liabilities attached to it also. And of course, this is something which we have discussed, that all of this usage of AI is not accurate and reliable, and it needs mandatory manual checks. You can't just use AI and rely upon it. you have to make sure that you check the source, you check the data. So this is very important. Any questions so far? Anyone? Okay. Now, just to give you an insight which is related to my first question, that do you think that AI is being used in law school? So there is this survey which was conducted in UK, and the survey was with respect to use of generative AI by students in the United Kingdom. So the survey results were shocking. The results shown that almost 61% students used AI for assessments and they edited the answers. Whatever were the output of these platforms, they edited and submitted it to the schools. Then 5.8% of these students submitted AI generated text without editing, which means that they gave a prompt, they copy pasted, they didn't do anything, they just sent it for the evaluations. Then 17.4% of these students said that the use of generative AI is not acceptable. 16% students said that generated text using generative AI edited. So this part was that they edited but not extensively. Now, all of this indicates that majority of the students, almost 61-62%, use Gen AI, and they of course modify the answers, but they rely upon AI, Gen AI, for their assessments. Now, this is a 2024 survey in Feb, which indicates that AI is being used in the assessments by the students to write the answer. So this is something which is more like a challenge, that how do we actually address this issue? Now, if there exists this issue of generative AI, how do we actually detect it? By our human eyes, we cannot detect it because you need softwares for it. How will you understand that whether it's written by humans or whether it is written by machines or something like a platform like ChatGPT? So there are plagiarism tools which we are aware of, Turnitin, Drillbit, and there are many more. Now, these platforms provide you two set of plagiarism. One is the normal similarity. The other one is the AI similarity. Now, I'm just discussing two of them, Turnitin and Drillbit, just to give you an insight. How does it work? So Turnitin gives the AI similarity report separately also, but Turnitin says that if it's less than 20%, they do not give you a percentage because they say lesser than 20%, they don't have a good accuracy. So lesser than 20%, they show you an asterisk and they say that because of low accuracy, we are not going to provide the percentage. But if it goes 20 or above, they'll provide you the exact percentage with the highlights in the text, whatever is similar to AI. Drillbit shows percentage of the AI similarity for even 1% AI usage. Now, through these platforms, you can actually detect the use of AI in the assessments. But now the question is it 100% accuracy of these platforms? The answer is no. Both of them in their official documents, in their official website, they do not say that they have 100% accuracy. They say that almost they have an accuracy around 98%, but sometimes there is also a false negative and they keep updating their softwares. So this is also another issue, that sometimes it may give you a false negative. Now the question is, is there any penalty for plagiarism, including AI plagiarism in India? I think one of the sir in the beginning has said that there needs to be a regulation with respect to usage of AI in India. So, do you think that we have some sort of regulation directly or indirectly addressing AI plagiarism or usage of AI in India? Anyone?
Yes, there is punishment.
Sorry,
Yeah, there is provision of punishment.
punishment as in?
Uh, like retraction of paper and sometimes not providing increments or promotions. This kind of things may happen.
Yes, but that's the after effects of it. You are right. But my question is, like, do we have a pan India rule on plagiarism, which applies to all the higher education institution?
Copyright
Which
Act will be invoked here, sir. Copyright Act, and it's almost an ethical issue only. Copyright Act provisions might be attracted. That's also there.
so plagiarism and copyright comes at a different situation. My question is, do we have any regulation on plagiarism in the Indian higher education institution?
No,
Yes,
specifically,
there is.
I don't think so. No, no, not yet.
Yes, there is regulation by UGC, like
Yeah.
for submitting PG dissertations and PhD thesis. So there is a limit. So
Yes.
limit of plagiarism is there.
Yes, sir. You are right that we have that, and that's there on your screen. But please understand that this education regulator in India, UGC, provides this for the plagiarism. They have not updated the rules, which provides that this is also applicable directly to the AI plagiarism or AI detection. So it's not directly recognized or regulated. However, it may lead to an interpretation that it also includes AI plagiarism, AI similarity. However, it is not directly applicable as we talk now because it does not have any amendments with respect to the usage of AI. But if we look at the percentage which is given under the UGC rule, is this that if it is a similarity up to 10%, there is no penalty. If it goes between 10 to 40, it's more like a revision. In between 40 to 60, so you are debarred for an year. If it goes beyond 60%, the registration will be cancelled. Now, this can also be applied to AI plagiarism with an spillover effect or an interpretation. However, this is not a direct inclusion of AI detection or AI similarity, AI plagiarism within the rules, but this is something which is already there in the UGC rules. So the safest rule is that whether it's similarity or whether it's AI similarity, if it is within the permissible limit of 10%, it is all fine. That's the golden rule. So less than 10%, there is no problem with respect to the similarity or the plagiarism. Now, what are the challenges with respect to using Gen AI? So if the student use AI platform to answer the assessment questions, either as it is or they modify it to an extent, do you think that it will meet the learning outcome as proposed in the course? Because if they are not using Gen AI and if they are doing the research on their own, for example, going to different databases, legal databases, going to look into different books, and then they frame their answers by themselves. That is scenario one. And then scenario two is that they use Gen AI to get an answer. So you will understand that these two scenarios are different. So the student may not research and apply the concepts on their own. So how So there are two problems associated with it. First is that how do you actually detect the use of AI when they use AI to draft their assessments, and how accessible and accurate those detection platforms are. That's another issue to it. Now these questions actually indicate the challenges affecting the validity of assessments, because the assessments idea is to meet the learning outcomes which you have proposed in the course outline. If the students are not applying their mind, doing their own research, drafting their own answers, do you actually think that it meets the learning outcome? So how do we actually make sure that this issue is resolved? So this is the major challenge that we are having. Now, let's look at the potential solution. Now, one of the potential solution is the pen paper exam in a classroom setting. So, for example, when I was in law school, we used to have this midterm and end term, which was a pen paper exam in a classroom setting where we have, one of our professor as an invigilator. In that one, in that particular setting, there was no cell phones or electronic devices which were used. You have to write it with a pen, you get a question paper, a printed one. So, of course, you can't use AI. So you have to use your own, you know, perspective to answer the questions. There is no possibility of using AI or using digital devices. That's one. Second is that, but a lot of times we have seen that, especially in the West, a lot of scholars argue that this pen paper exam is not very inclusive. It's not very accessible, especially when you have exams like, the national exams like Bar Council or something on those lines, that you have to travel to a particular, center, and it's less number of centers. Then it also incurs cost. It affects diversity, all of these arguments. So there comes the second solution, which is more like the proctored exam. Now, what is a proctored exam? A proctored exam is that you use your laptops to answer to participate in an exam where you have a live recording of your live recording from your laptops, and it's proctored either by AI or by a human invigilator depending on the platform or the exam, and all of your screen is freezed. You cannot toggle in between different you know uh, tabs. So what happens is that your laptop gets freeze to one particular platform, and then you have to type the questions. Sometimes you can also upload the answers with a handwritten note, but all of this is proctored. Then there comes the third option, which is the Viva or oral exam. But this has its own limitation again, because you can't have Viva or oral exam for the whole of the course. Maybe for a smaller portion of your course, you can have Viva or oral exam. For example, like a response paper presentation or a legal essay presentation, but you can't have oral exam for the whole of the course. For example, the final examinations as we have in India in the law schools. So that is another thing. The fourth one is Gen AI as part of the exam. So this is something which we have discussed in brief, that you can use AI, but you have to disclose it, and the examination departments of that particular law school provides the guidance that how you can use, how you cannot use, and what are the disclosures that have to be done. So this is something which is being done in a lot of Western law schools. Some of the IITs have also done this. They actually provide you that we accept if you use Gen AI, but there are these do's and don'ts, and these are the disclosures. You have to send us the prompts attached to your answer sheets when you send the file. Now, in one of the paper which I was reading for researching on this particular topic, so they have created a bandwidth of using Gen AI on a scale of one extreme, which is academic dishonesty, to another extreme, which is authentic learning. So it moves from the left, starting with student copy paste an answer from Gen AI and submits. Second is student submits questions to these chatbots, edits output and submits. Third is that the students creates multiple prompts and they get all of these answers in different outputs, and then they compiles all of them and send it. The fourth one is a student writes the draft and to improve grammar and style. And the fifth one, which is the extreme towards authentic learning, is that the student asks chatbot for asking help with respect to understanding the key themes and then writes the draft on their own. So this is one of the potential answers that we get from these research, that how do we understand that what is allowed and what shouldn't be allowed, what are the best practices, what how you should use AI. So this gives us some help to that particular discussion. And with this, we come to the conclusion that this topic is not something which is well discussed. So, and this is something also that all of us needs training. I'm not saying only the law students need training, but also the faculties, including us, and also the administration staff of the law school, so that we understand first how to use AI, how to regulate this. Only then we can assess the usage of AI in the assessments. So all of us needs to be trained. Second is that AI software needs to be used to detect AI. All of the, for all of these assessments evaluation, we need to first have an access to these platforms. Only then we can detect it. But for that also we need the basic trainings, and also the students needs training, because unless until they understand how these softwares work, it's very difficult for them to actually understand what are the repercussions of this. So it's our job to make sure that these students understand this. Third is that maybe that the examination styles, the current examination styles have to be updated in line with addressing these AI concerns, which means that, all of these assessments should have this very clearly, that what is the AI similarity, which is allowed, what is not allowed. So more detailed the guidelines are from the examination department, it's better for the students to understand what are the rules with respect to the exam, including the rules on AI. And with this, I conclude the session on role of AI in law schools. And if I'm not able to answer your question, or if you have a very detailed question which I can't discuss here, you have my contact details here. And now I open the floor for questions.
Yeah, Akash Gupta, na?
Yes, thank you very much, Akash, for your insightful session and thoughts. Participant, any question, query your side? So you can raise your hand, or preferably you can raise your hand and ask the question, or put the question in the chat box if you are not able to do. Yes, please.
Sir, actually, in all the Scopus or peer review journals,
Yes, please.
0% yes. But we are generating the outline only.
Madam, you are not a, madam, you are not audible. Okay, any other participants? Please raise your hand.
Uh,
No, hello.
yes. Yes,
There
madam.
is a question. Yeah, one second. Let me. Is it possible to
Uh,
evaluate students' manuscript with the AI? From Professor Pankaja.
Okay. So personally speaking, I'm not very much inclined towards saying yes for this, because the problem is when you evaluate the student's answer, you do not evaluate. When AI evaluates, the problem is that AI will evaluate based on the metadata. So When you can use AI for evaluations, maybe if you have MCQs and you use a software, let's say if it's a physical MCQ or online MCQ, you can use AI because it's 100% accurate. But if it's subjective, I don't think you can use AI, because AI will evaluate based on the metadata, will not evaluate based on your lectures, based on your reading materials and your class seminars. So I don't think that you I'm not saying that you can't do it, but I don't think you should do it, because then AI will evaluate based on their metadata and not based on your lectures. So I think it will be biased in that case. But for MCQs, yes, you can. Even if it's like physical ones, you can convert it into an OMR, then you can upload, they can do it easily because there is only one right answer. You can just feed into the AI, but not for your subjective answers, for sure.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
for the same question, if we upload the answer key and then check against the answers of the students for assessment, is it possible?
Answer keys as in for
Suppose, yeah,
subjective
for a
questions.
no, yeah, subjective questions. These are the points I am looking for. These are the rubrics, and these are the crucial points which I am looking for in every answer. Can't they, compare that, and accordingly they say there's a 50% match or 70% match or 100% match against my criteria? Is it possible?
I don't think so, ma'am, because the moment you do this with any of the AI, the moment you upload this, it's going to be problematic because you are uploading the answer sheets and the answer keys to an AI platform. Unless until your law school provides you an in-house AI platform to do that, which is done in some of the Western law schools, I think it will be a problem. So I don't think that this should be done
No.
because
After conducting the exam, in order to, we check manually, right, all the answer scripts. So instead, generally we give along with the question paper the answer key also, right? So we
I
share that
understand,
answer key
ma'am.
with the
But
student.
whatever
So,
data
mm,
which you provide to these Gen AI, including
okay,
an answer sheet of a student, which the
okay.
answer sheet is something which is of course going to be confidential. So I think it's a very problematic scenario. That's one. Talking about confidentiality.
No,
Now,
confidence. The answer sheet is a public document. It's no confidentiality. If any student wants to check, double check
ma'am,
along with this.
I'm sorry, but a public document is more like, for
Uh-huh.
example, a newspaper article. You go to Google, you put the newspaper article name, you get it. That's a public document.
Sir, if one of the student, say student A wants to check student B's answer.
But that's not public, ma'am. It
No,
can be
I'm asking.
provided
Okay,
if
fine.
that
If
student wants it.
yeah, student
They
A
can see it.
wants to see
Yes.
student B's answer
But
sheet,
that's not a
can you?
public document, ma'am. That's one.
No.
Second part is that even if you use this for any of the AI and you provide an answer key, I understand where your question comes from, that you put a blinker to the AI platform saying that instead of using your metadata, why don't you use this answer key as a roadmap and
Yeah,
then you evaluate it. But
yeah.
still, I will say that it will not be very much accurate with your teachings, because what you have taught in the classes,
Mm-hmm.
your lectures and how you have pursued that topic, whatever were the class discussions, the students may have used that. But what is the understanding of these AIs of that answer key can be different. For
Okay.
example, let's say that there exists a discussion on modification of arbitral award under Section 34 of the Indian Arbitration and Conciliation Act. And what you have gone into is, let's say, a discussion on pro arbitration approach of Gary Bond versus the Indian approach under the Gayatri Balaswamy case, and specifically with respect to some of the old judgments in India and how it has changed. I'm pretty much sure that that particular perspective will not be shown when, let's say, ChatGPT is evaluating it, because ChatGPT will never have that particular understanding. So, if the student's understanding matches with the data repository of ChatGPT, they will evaluate them on a higher scale. If it doesn't match, they'll evaluate it on a lower scale, which can be different from your marking rubrics. I'm understanding what you're saying, that by the answer key you will try to make it up for some things, but that will not be accurate for sure. So it's going to be a problem. But the question is that even if you do it, and let's say there is one student who let's say, write all the answers in the highest threshold, maintaining all the lectures, all the readings. But Chat GPT, while they evaluate, it doesn't meet their standards. How will you actually, you know, compensate that student? So then it will be a problem. So that's why my answer is that I don't think for the subjective answers you can do it. Unless until there is one scenario where you can actually do, let's say if your examination rules actually provides that you can use, let's say, Gen AI, and they have an in-house or a subscription to one of the AI platforms which is tailor-made for evaluation, where you can feed all of these rubrics. There are also prompts which you can give, which makes them understand your perspective of those particular questions, and then you upload the, you know, the answer sheets there, and then you have options to look into it, modify all of this. If that is there with your law school, maybe you can use it. But that's very rare to find in India.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So there are some questions in the chat box. Um, Dr. Kumar has asked, Sir, is there any specific AI software to evaluate AI work of a researcher?
So is the question on AI similarity, or the question is evaluation of answer sheets? There are two interpretations to it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Kumar, if you can unmute yourself and ask the question and give a clear picture as in what you want to know, it will be easier for him to answer. Okay, the next question here is, Akash sir, how AI is successful to finalize the answer? The question raised by students comparatively evaluated by the teacher. Is it justified? Asked by Dr. Mohammed Salim.
Mohammed sir, can you unmute and tell me what is this question exactly? Because I'm not able to understand the
Yeah.
question. You are saying how AI is successful to finalize the answer the question raised by students comparatively evaluated by the teacher. Is that your question, that if a faculty evaluates a paper and then the students say that this is problematic evaluation, is that your question?
Okay, by the time he answers, so let's
Yeah.
go to another question. As LLM students are
Hmm.
using AI for their dissertation, how we guide them to reduce AI content?
Okay, so first thing is that we need to make sure that we set up a meeting with the LLM students and make sure that they understand that beyond 10% it's going to be a problem. Second is, the moment they copy paste from any of these Gen AI, it is going to be detected by these AI platforms. So the golden rule is very simple, that whatever things you read, you research, you write it in your own words, and you give a proper reference to it. There is no doubt that it will come under Gen AI or AI similarity. This is the golden rule for this. So that's one. But I'm understanding where this question comes from. A lot of time, these students do not have access to these AI detection softwares, and then they use these platforms and then they submit it, which is going to be a problematic situation, because once you submit your final file, it's going to be triggering the rules on plagiarism. So I will say that it's always better to talk to your supervisor, to send the file in advance and to get a report, and then rework on it, write it in your own words to make sure that the AI content is within the permissible limit, instead of just sending your final file and uploading it on the portal.
Okay, so the last question for the day is, what is metadata and meta AI?
Okay, so basically, when I use the term metadata, it basically means, think of the repository of internet, the whole of the internet. Let's say anything which is lying on internet, which is a public link, open access, that is the metadata. So how all of these Gen AI works, whatever are their subscriptions, either paid ones if they have a collaboration, or anything which is there on Google, on newspaper articles, which is free to access, all of this is the metadata. So whatever is lying on the internet, they use that particular data to answer your prompts. If something which is a paid website, you have to pay for reading that article, and they do not have subscription, that will not be attracted, that will never be used to answer your prompts. So this is what we mean by metadata. So anything on internet repository, and your AI platforms will of course use it. If it is a paid one, if the AI platforms have a collaboration with it, they'll use that data to answer it. So all of your prompt answers is actually related to that particular repository.
Okay, sir. So I think those are all the questions that we had for the day. And if I have to wind up and summarize today's session, sir, you started. Yes, Dr. Mohammed, do you want to ask anything? Your
No,
voice is
ma'am, no,
cracking,
thank.
sir.
Yes, ma'am, I am traveling basically, and so my voice is not
Okay,
clear. So, but
okay.
I think
Right.
we get the answer. That is the tools which has been applicable. But I think it may be justified or not. That was a question because the students are mostly depending on the AI tools and they believe on that.
Yes. So I hope you're answered, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So let's summarize today's session. Professor Akash Gupta, you started by saying that AI is used in law schools a lot. You gave us a roadmap where you gave the introduction, you gave the positives of AI and negatives, and a lot of other things as a roadmap. You introduced AI in detail and also generative AI with us. You highlighted how AI is very famous amongst the students and how most of the students, many students at law school and other law colleges use AI for the assessments. We discussed about generative AI tools, whether it is reliable, can they think like humans, and so on. You also highlighted that generative AI is mostly used and beneficial in MCQs. You discussed in detail the positives, negatives, such as algorithm bias, and how it may not be accurate and may not be taken as accurate and reliable. You discussed about a survey which was conducted in UA among the students, that how 61.6 or so percent of students used generative AI to carry out their assignments or assessments. You also stated that if use of AI exists, how do we detect the usage of generative AI? You spoke about plagiarism tools like Turnitin and Drillbit. You also discussed about plagiarism, how whether there are regulations to that effect and how the regulations can address it. You discussed about the challenges, the potential solutions which can be there. And finally, you concluded by saying that we all need to be trained to use generative AI, and also that AI softwares need to be there in order to detect AI. So one thing is for sure that students are going to use it more as the time passes, because I personally believe as a teacher that AI is definitely a boon for all of us. But at some point of time, I avoid myself using AI. I want to use my intelligence, but definitely when I need to use it, I use it and it increases the effectiveness of my work. So, on this note, I would like to thank Professor Akash Gupta for this insightful session. I'm sure we all were answered, and whatever we were thinking, we could discuss and we could get the answers from Professor Akash Gupta. So, on behalf of HSNC boards, Nari Gursahani Law College, and Law Teachers India, I formally thank Professor Akash Gupta for this wonderful session, and I'm sure there's more to come from him in future. But for today, for now, I think that's all for the day. Thank you everyone, all the participants, for actively participating and putting up your questions so boldly. And I'm sure Akash Gupta must be very happy to answer them. So once again, thanks to every one of you who all are present over here. And with this formal thank you, I would like to end the session. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Akash. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kalpesh, sir. Thank
Sure.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, Raj, sir, can we stop the recording? And I'll kindly end the session. Raj sir, kindly end the session for all. Raj sir, are you there?